I'm happy to welcome everyone at Kief International Economic Forum. My name is Valentyna Khamaiko. I'm a host of 1+1 TV channel, entrepreneur, and it's a big honor for me actually to be here among those people who made pretty difficult decisions in their times. They left big business, they left professional sport, managing huge structures for the sake of victory of our country. They changed their suits for pixel uniform. That's the name of our today's panel, our today's discussion. Suits for pixel, from suits to pixel uniform, change for the victory. And I really hope that our speakers are going to be talkative today, that they will share their opinions concerning how your experience in business helped you in military service. What new qualities you gain already being a military serviceman, and what you might need in modern Ukrainian business, and in general, how shall we support our country under current conditions? So let me introduce our today's speakers. Next to me is Serhiy Stakhovskyi. In civilian life, you can applaud. In civilian life, he's a businessman, a restaurant owner. Right now, Lieutenant Colonel of Armed Forces of Ukraine. Yevgen Kravtsov. For you, it was news. Jealousy in military, it's present everywhere, not only in business. Everyone is going to run for success. Yevgen Kravtsov, in civilian life, lawyer. Starting from 2017 till 2020, he was the head of Ukrzaliznytsia, now mayor of Armed Forces of Ukraine. Please put your hands together.
Serhiy Stakhovskyi.
Serhiy Stakhovskyi, the ex-first tennis racket businessman, now he's serving in Special Forces of Security Service of Ukraine, Special Group A, seems to me it's called, Center of Special Operations A, Security Service of Ukraine. Thank you for your support. Timur Khamayev, in civilian life, public official, now Lieutenant of Armed Forces of Ukraine. Senior Lieutenant, excuse me, that's an important clarification. We will have one more speaker who is also my husband in civilian life. He's a businessman, banker, but you know, a wife always can justify her husband because I couldn't be late here. We have 4 children, so he had to drive our daughter to her gymnastics classes. He will come here. His second name is running banker. Right now, he is also a military person and lieutenant of Armed Forces of Ukraine. So let's get back to our discussion. I would like to hear your sincere thoughts today. You're people from business. You have had huge experience of managing structures, leadership qualities well developed, but how it all helped you to adapt accordingly in the military service, and what moment of this transformation was the hardest for you? I'm not going to point my finger and tell you who's going to answer, so those who are ready, please take your mics. Well, since I'm the senior here, I shall start. Lieutenant Colonel, not Colonel yet. Okay, my mistake, my bad. So that's my transformation actually happened in 2022. We were using about our skills and knowledge at that time, but for me, the first year was, you know, some kind of downshifting to primitive things, because you learn how to understand army, how to understand the war. You try to use you with at least some kind of sense. That's why it was all, there were lots of strange situations. Kief operations and Kherson, and you're constantly, you know, you're kind of, you're in the river and then you are learning how to swim. Hi. He's lieutenant of Armed Forces of Ukraine and civilian life banker and businessman. Andrei Onistratov, please put your hands together. Andrei, So only in 1.5 years I understood how I can use what we have, but the war is already in some kind of industrial level, when already now is that time where we can rebuild our army and make it more modern. That's what we were doing actually in our corporate business. Johan? Yes, thank you. I actually agree here with Timur a lot, because I am pretty sure that all of you who are present here, you have overcome this stage when we made this decision to go to the armed forces, because all of us are volunteers, as far as I know. And each of us was pretty successful in its own area. Public official, businessman, or athlete, and doesn't matter. It's like, Maslow pyramid. We were at the top of this pyramid. We have to talk about self-implementation, moral commitment levels. But when we joined when you join the army, you are on equal with everyone else who's there. And it's a really significant challenge when you have to start your career from the scratch. You have absolutely, well, you might be extremely successful athlete, and it might help you to a certain extent, or you might be a successful businessman because you already have certain skills, certain understanding of processes, certain type of thinking, but you are just a soldier. You're just a military person as well as everyone else, and you need to understand how to start everything from the scratch, how to adapt in the system. It's a huge challenge for the person, yes? After romanticism of first 2 days were off, not even 2 weeks, but 2 days, to survive, that is one of the most difficult tasks. Unfortunately, not everyone can succeed in it. And then after that, you understand how you can be really useful. What benefit can you bring? Not just as a kind of fighting unit, but as a person with experience, with skills, with opportunities. And these processes, as far as I understand, I know a little bit about Timur's success and my colleagues, they are really exemplary. If to talk about if the person achieves success in some sphere, might be useful in armed forces of Ukraine as well. Thank you. Let me voice the question once again. Andriy Onistrat joined us. How experience in business helped to integrate to military service? Because right now, actually, I have heard in answers that you adapted, but whether some traits helped you to adapt, because it feels like military service broke your leadership qualities and you had to adapt.
Насправді це
Actually,
великий виклик,
it's a huge
тому
challenge,
що
because
армія – це система, в системі є
army
командир,
is a system. A
над командиром
system
ще є
has a
командир.
commander, there is a commander above,
Тому,
and
якщо
there
ти
is
йдеш в
chief of
армію,
command.
тобі
So
треба перелаштувати свій
if you go to
мозок
the
зі
army, you
своєї
need to
альфа-харизми
readjust
до того,
your
що
brain
ти
from your
на
alpha
певних
charisma
етапах
to
знаходишся
that
в самому
fact
низу.
that at some stages
Тебе
you're at
можуть
the very
поважати
bottom.
навколо, щось про
You
тебе
might be
знати, але в
respected,
цілому ти все
people
одно
might
знаходишся
respect
в самому
you,
низу.
they might know
Ще
something
одна
about you, but
є
you're
дуже
still at the very
важлива
bottom. There
історія,
is
це
one
те,
more
що
important
серед командирів
thing is
часто
that
буває завість,
there is
і
always
ця завість
jealousy among
починає працювати
commanders,
проти
and
тебе.
this jealousy starts
Ти
working against
фізично
you. You
викладаєшся,
are
думаєш,
doing
а
everything
вона
you can
працює проти тебе.
physically, you're thinking, but
І
it's working
з
against
цим
you.
прямо проблема.
And it's a problem.
Я мобілізувався в серпні 22-го року, і навколо мене був таке коло
I joined the army
булінгу,
in August
тому що люди, які мене оточували, були
2022,
моїми
and
командирами,
there was
вони
kind of
заздрили
bullying
мені, і
because
це спричиняло
people
певний
surrounding me were
епітет
my
в
commanders
стосунку до
and
мене.
they envied me.
Як допомогло?
How
Звичайно,
the business
найбільше, що мені
past
допомагало, це
helped
моя
me. Of course,
комунікативність.
what helped me the most is my communication skills, because when I got into ordinary brigade, I understood that a lot of things are built on communication, and I could understand that it was possible to come to an agreement with anyone, especially if it's a neighboring unit, especially when you become a commander. I became at some point a commander of a company, and it was like being a manager of a startup, if you translate it to the business speech, and you start interacting with everyone else. And then different swings start, offensive actions, counter-offensive, and you no longer know what day of week it is, what day of month it is, what's happening around you, what's happening at home. You just talk from time to time with others, and it is a story which goes on around the clock. I will tell you a short story to make it more fun, and the human experience led to a micro success around Swatovo. 20th of July 2023, we got new positions and I received instructions. I had to open 6 spots within 1 kilometer from the base. So we basically came nowhere. Kharkiv region, Poltava region, and an area we came to. I had this natural spirit of adventures. I could understand that there are neighboring units we had to interact with to understand what was going on. So I took a reconnaissance officer and we started moving towards the enemy. And we passed this conditional border between us, and at some point we understand that we had to turn around. I told where we were. The head of the brigade was astonished because it was not our territory, not under our control, and he starts showing this point to everyone else, saying that Onistrat was there, the reconnaissance has to go there now. And basically, the fears of the military often constitute obstacles for them, especially at the level of officers. But now the army is 99.7% of people who came from civilian life. They are now commanders, they are heads of offensive operations, and only their leadership are from professional army who basically lead the process. Andrei, we have a discussion here. I know that you now have a mic, but we wanted to listen to other opinions. Serhiy Stakhovskyi, being leader in business is something clear for you. How do you feel being a leader in the military area? Well, I think in this case, it's not relevant in our team. Everyone is an officer, almost. And we joined the army on our own. Obviously, no one was mobilized by force. Of course, there are 2 key words today. The first one is a person, individual, and the second word is leadership. And I think it what Andrei was telling us about was not only relevant to leadership, but if you know that you are a natural leader in business, it will also apply to the army environment. Leadership means being a leader among other people. So if you take care of people in business, it's good. If you take care of people in the army, it's also good. There is a big wisdom at war, which is survive, because death is obviously an element of war, but it's bad. And I think that another simple and obvious truth is that many things depend on commander. Commanders who take care of their people will have better units than other ones with a different situation, because in other places they just send people to death. Yes, we can see that those people who are conscious in their choice of joining the army also choose the commanders. Serhiy Stakhovskyi, leadership in sport and leadership on battlefield. Do you have the same attitude to this feature after you got military experience, and what's your experience? Can we say that giving the floor to the sergeant as the last speaker is bullying? Basically, your status and your financial abilities are no longer applied when you join the army. And here, an important component is that, yes, I am a businessman, but my tennis career is a very small project. I got lucky to join an organization where individual small teams work and bring some results. My colleagues were less lucky. They joined big structures, brigades. They are bigger, and I just envy them because they were not the only ones. A lot of people got there as well, and they have this systemic opportunity. We have some tasks that have to be performed within a day or two, and they could apply systematic changes from inside. I understand that I should not change the unit I serve in from inside, because everyone understands their task and everyone performs them. In our case, the initiative is punishable in some units, but in our case, it's not like that. If you suggest something, if you show your initiative, it is supported. And in business environment, the initiative is also supported and rewarded. And when we, in military structures, see people with initiatives who preserve lives of other people, who improve our positions, we support them, encourage them. I hope that despite the military service, you had a chance to preserve your position in business. It will soon be the third year of war, and today we have over 1 million of veterans, and there is a big question as to the return to civilian life. Do you already have an experience, and do you see that Ukrainian business is ready to create positions for our veterans? If you have such an experience, please tell us. If not, what should the civil society and what should the state do, and every individual business do, to ensure this reintegration of the serviceman into civilian life? Serhiy, Mr. Sergeant, is it okay? My brother Yevgen is actually present here now, and thanks to my brother that I'm there and he's here. We discussed it actually before the start of the actual panel, and business exists within a country. There is the state. We rather focused on the state, what state has to do, because business will make it clear what has to be done. And what does the state have to do? The idea is that, well, I first thought that the state should encourage, but we then expressed other suggestions. The state has to support and motivate interaction between business and veterans, and we have enough specialists in taxes and economy, etc. And if before the war we had this formula that every enterprise has to employ the person with disability, but it's a fake relationship. No one really takes care of people with disability. But if there is a certain number of veterans employed in their enterprise, and the enterprise shows how it changes their revenues, what are the real benefits, it might be efficient. And the state has to be conscious, because we have many people, many veterans with different veterans experience, and some of them will go through PTSD, some of them might become people with disabilities, and all of these cases require special attention, and many things depend on the state. And I think that after the war, when we will have elections, new political forces, coalition, for them it will be one of fundamental tasks to take care of those who defended their right to live and to do what you like, and not to be in trench. So that's rather a desire. So the state has to motivate business to employ veterans. Do you have an experience of when businesses employ veterans? Do you have real examples? In our case, we only have former employees who are currently serving. We would like them to come back, but obviously we lack people on the front line. Yevgen? I think these questions are too soon to ask. It's an important question in future. Well, 1 million of veterans. No, I don't think there is 1 million of veterans. We have over 1 million of drafted people. They are not demobilized yet. They are not veterans yet. And we can see a significant shortage of servicemen, of soldiers. And we can see that the process of additional drafting, additional mobilization is complicated. Of course, no one can make forecasts about the future, but I think we are far from victory. Let's be honest. And in my view, the situation is the most difficult today since the start of the full-scale invasion. From what I see on the front line, from my experience, it's not a popular opinion, but we have to be realists. There are a lot of challenges ahead. And today we have to focus on the mobilization of additional resources in general, additional support, starting from donations to Western support. Unfortunately, there is downstream trends, and we have to ensure drafting of people as well. Probably this should be the questions, because as a military, I often hear active discussions as to, of course it's important, as to how we will ensure recovery of our economy, how we reintegrate veterans into the society. Look, we are far from the victory, we are far from end of war. Let's win first, and then we'll speak about reintegration. When it comes to this, I completely agree that we have to leave our traditional administrative approach to effective tools of stimulation and soft impetus. And it will also depend on the state of country will have after the end of the war, after the victory, what will be the economic and macroeconomic state, global situation, global security. It will then show us whether the state has enough resources to stimulate employment of veterans. Another question to Yevgen and to all of you. Won't it be positive for the mobilization if people understand that the state is ready to integrate them into business after their return, no matter what happens to them? Because this uncertainty is what frightens people. I will answer briefly. I often speak with newly drafted soldiers, and I can see a clear trend for the last year. I am not sure it will be effective. That's what I can say today. I think it's a deeper question. It's about social contract, and that's how I would put that. It's about social guarantees in broader sense. These things are important, but it's not a game changer, in my opinion. Who else is ready? Well, I think you will not hear an answer from us to this question. For now, we do not have a system to leave the war. The war is not ending soon, and we should understand that the business has to militarize. We are not coming to you, you are coming to us. Don't have any illusions. Yesterday, we already heard that the world is changing, it is becoming more unpredictable, the army will change and the army will develop. We now have several, we have the army which is being modernized, and professional military people find it hard to deal with businessmen, but there are a lot of people. The army is transforming. It will transform further. People are very tired. We are making jokes here sometimes, but speaking seriously, we have to prepare the society to a lasting war, and we have to change our country in times of war. It will be in an active phase. It can slow down, but for sure we will not go back to February 2022. It will not happen. And we have to be ready in our families. Everything starts with our mindset as a family member, and I think that business. Actually, we talked with Serhiy before. People are not ready to go to the army, and business is not ready to leave to let them go. And there won't be demobilization as such. We might get 3 to 6 months, but we will live like in Israel with an army working actively all the time. It will be a constant rotation. If you're not ready, Ukraine is not the country you can live differently in. The state does not have to provide anything to us. The state only exists because we do something for it. This energy goes from the bottom to the top and not otherwise. The system tries to transform according to the mood of the society, of the army.
Ви сказали, що бізнеси мають
You
мілітаризуватися.
have mentioned that businesses should be militarized, universities starting from the next year, also from the third year of studying, also introduce mandatory military preparation. Right now it's only about boys, but I think that girls should do that too, because it's absolutely okay, it's normal. But you are saying that it should be this exchange and that families should help too. But if a wounded soldier comes, injured soldier comes back to the family and cannot find himself in this society, cannot get back to his position because he cannot type because he's without hands, and I do not have position. That's how what my employee told me, and this person might feel depressed and miserable, and the whole family is suffering from that. So we cannot say that the business should. But is it okay to get back to the army? Well, army needs people, and if we take, it might be a person without hand or without leg, and this person can do more than healthy person. Well, right now we need women too. For instance, in our unit, we have all women, and those all the others, they can go to the front line. That's it. But the person might decide where it's better for himself or for herself, and if the person is supported at home, then it's good. But it does not mean that necessarily this person will go where it comes from. So if there is some kind of specific license result, yes. But if there is support at home, and if there is understanding in the society, and it's understanding of friends, for instance, someone knows that something happened and they say, come see me. And the same in the army, they go there where they go where there is support. They don't just go to bend their head on the wall. So we have two directions here. If you don't mind, I would like to add the center. I'm part of the center, but I understand perfectly well that I'm still far from the officers, because for 8 or 10 years they have already been there. They have certain professional skills that we don't have in our country, and the order of the head of the security service of Ukraine, that even if you have injury, even if you have amputation, everyone remains in their positions, and the task that they can do with their experience, with their head, they adjust their tasks and they continue their service even without having some kind of physical capability to do something that they should do. So it's a little bit general. A lot has been mentioned, and I can only support all of it. And I might mention that it's not militaries getting back to society. Militaries should integrate, society should integrate to them. No, society should adapt to the fact that we have the war going on, and that since now it will be in 1 year, in 2 years. While we have Moscovia existing, we will have the war with them, because they do not perceive our existence as the state, as independent country. And that's important for the state to integrate the fact that we have the war, and not just have the pictures that we are doing something perfectly well, but every day we are losing 1 kilometer of our land. So it is important to explain that in 2022 people had this greed, this hunger to go and protect. But in recruitment centers, they told that we don't have places, we have enough people, go home. So for half a year they wanted to do something. I got hundreds of calls from my friends and acquaintances. What should I do? Should I help with the car or something? And for half a year, when a person doesn't have what to do, then the person starts understanding how they can earn their living, and they all started doing something. They started working, they started raising economy, and now the state comes and says, come with me to the bus, and they say, I wanted to, but you told that you don't need me, and now you are you want me, and you are going to return me, I don't know when and don't know in what conditions. So if we have understandable situation that we are taking you, then in a year you're going back, and then if the war is still on, you'll go back again. Then it's clear understanding. Now there is no rules, and without rules, it's absolutely terrible. Andriy? Well, my first statement is that I have really met several requests for people that got partial ability, and I even had requests to hire people And it is not a system, it is not a state, and the state probably might do it now only those people who are extremely injured. Concerning people in the army after amputations, they come with delight. I know several people who were severely injured, but they get back to the army and they feel perfectly well there. Of course, taking into account their performance, they are treated a little bit differently, but generally, everyone would like to see such people in the army. Speaking about transformation of the society, of course, it should be transformation, because without it, we will not be able to win. We will not be able to win, and it's a fact. Get ready to the fact that the war will not end as Trump promised in one day or tomorrow. By the way, this day has already passed. For tomorrow, they will see some kind of line, and we will be in NATO. No, don't wait for this. You need to understand that we will be fighting eternally while that country on the top exists, and but everyone should get used to it. Everyone in the world. Once again, we might have easier way, we may have worse way, but generally it is this direction. Today, I have heard from you that you, as the heads of units, leaders of units, appreciate initiative and leadership qualities. And among militaries, it is not very popular. But what skills did you gain? Have you acquired already being militaries? Have you got something new in your characters after you started being in the military service? That I learned how to be patient. Yes. And I think that in business, you always can form a team, find leaders, but you have unit and that's it. You are running as fast as the last person. And taking into account that now we have lack of people, every person is an asset. And if this asset is lost, then you lose this opportunity to fight and capability. So that is extremely important. I understood that we need to fight for each person. Not everyone would like to be a leader, all this corporate stuff, but does not work here. But people just want to have their format of work, and you need to build such a system that will give the opportunity to and function to each of them, so that the person understands that the person is doing something for common benefit. It is not a military man speaking. If you asked the military man, he would tell you absolutely everything absolutely differently. Yes, but they are listening. They are listening. They're listening. They're nodding, but they are doing whatever they want to do. Yes, but we repeat all of this, and that's already for the second tier like this. So I believe that we will be able to deal with that. Just short remark, I had a discussion with the head of the brigade. He mentioned that there is no word motivation in statute and charter. And getting back to what you have mentioned, yes, you really have some kind of unit, and you cannot kick somebody off from this unit or fire someone. You just have people there. If this person is an alcoholic or a drug addict, you need to think what to do with this person. You cannot kill him. You cannot fire him. Or, for example, he's afraid to go somewhere. No, you just need to find some other work for him, some other task, and it's extremely difficult sometimes. The second thing to endure, to be patient, because pretty often that system you're getting into is doing everything that you're not used to in your regular, normal life. And you need to transform, because now you're a military person and you need to readjust your brain, not to create conflict, but at the same time perform this work and to do the task and not to shoot anyone because you have weapons with you all the time. And sometimes you have such desire. It's a positive trait. On the other hand, yes, I would like to say several words for our colleagues. In the army, we have so those who were drafted and those who were in the army for some period of time. We are all drafted, but those who have been in the army for many years, state paid them money so that one day they are ready voluntarily to die for their country. But for me, frankly speaking, especially when I had to deal with not technical, but more administrative matters, it was extremely interesting because I have certain experience in my civilian life, managing experience, and lots of things, especially under extreme conditions, do not work. That's what colleagues have partially mentioned, that in certain conditions, when there is a matter of life and death, and we have our flag, yellow flag behind our hands, and we still have motivation, patriotism, but not all of us, let's be frank here. We need to find mechanisms of managing those people who are risking their life. Tomorrow they might be dead, and not just force them to perform some kind of task because it's not effective, but to find some kind of mechanism how they can do this task effectively, as much as it's possible, how they can be motivated for this under the conditions of the absence of motivation. And frankly speaking, very often such traditional approaches are effective because the war is a matter of effectiveness in the long run. And to absolutely decline them is not a good option. We need to have some kind of synergy from what we brought from business. Really, people from civilian life, not from business, from civilian life. Army is the same mechanism of selection as it is in civil life. The best usually achieve some kind of success. At least I'm some kind of I'm an idealistic person. So what that people can bring to the army and what we have good in the army, where you need to learn how to endure, how to be patient, to perform, to make someone do something. That synergy of these two things, it's something that can lead to transformation, to success. We cannot decline everything that exists in army doctrine and bring liberal business approaches, and since we have liberal army, pink one, with Hello Kitty, and we are going to win with new approach. Of course, it's not going to work. Yeah, I think that you communicate a lot with authorities. Well, it's I'm not a mayor just because. Well, you already have certain understanding of business, of stable, of resilient. But what about military experience? Have you got some new skills? Well, I think that it is important to understand that the war focuses lots of things, and it focuses what we understand on the leadership. Leadership in civilian life is one thing. By the way, leadership in the army during the peace times, it's one thing. It's a separate situation. Whereas leadership at the war presupposes that those people who are your subordinates, they might die. And there are some traditions, when the third toast usually is for those who are not with us. And when you in your head repeat the names of those who are already in the better world, then it's also a component of leadership. It's a hyper responsibility for what you're doing and what consequences might be of what you're doing. And it may be about the preparation, about selection. It can be about how this or that order is performed. There are lots of details, but the most important thing here is, of course, this aspect. Leadership at war, unfortunately, it also presupposes that people might die. Hyper responsibility. Serhiy Stakhovskyi, leadership in sport and leadership at the battlefield. How do they differ? Significantly. Of course, responsibility. All my life I spent on my own against someone. So all my life, from 6 years, I have been competing with someone. So I was alone against someone else, and it's some point, of course, it gives you certain strength, understanding of the situation. But when you end up in the army, well, then, frankly speaking, for me, in my life, starting from the 28th of February, I was lucky in all the steps that I made. I was protected, and I am in that unit that is very understanding, and I got lucky. But the change for me was that I have always made my own decisions. I have known what I need for achieving success, and when you are in that body that it is a team, then I think my colleagues will agree with me here. Sometimes you want to do some things that are not very smart, to go somewhere, to shoot someone. It exists because you are acting under emotions. And you are at the battlefield, you understand that there are certain gaps that you can climb into. And when you're used already to this moment, you want something more. And luckily, there are people in the team that say, calm down, cool down. See, here you need to do this, here you need to do that. So the team lets you to calm yourself down and to understand that it's not for one day, not for 2 days, not for 1 week, but you need to think ahead. You need to understand that this war is going to last, and you need to protect those people and save lives of people who are around you, because for me, it was an eye-opening, because when you risk your life, but like your career, you understand how to do this. But here, you need to learn to understand the scales of your mistakes, and the scale of your mistake is calculated in the deaths of your colleagues. And it's already absolutely different motivation, which really, in a very fast way, make you start thinking not only what is around you, but about wider people. So to play in the long run and just to preserve the life of your life and life of your subordinates. I would like to hear your opinions, whether the feeling of patriotism is changing while you're at the front line. Has it changed in your case from that moment when you joined the armed forces of Ukraine, and now when you already have this military experience? It's a provocative question. Yes, it's like with love. Patriotism is a love to the country. So at first, you have this euphoria, you're falling in love. I'm sure that everyone has experienced that. After that, that person who's not losing patriotism, it's extremely important, is transforming into understanding of why, what aim, and what price. And the person has this feeling inside, and that's why this person continues military service or some other kind of service because of patriotism. So frankly speaking, yes, about myself, I can say that my love to the country hasn't decreased, but it has changed from this, young love, if we can put it like that, because I'm not that young already. But it's already almost 3 years of active war with the enemy, and they made this feeling mature. It's a very good description. And as of now, I understand why, what for, and how much does it cost to go from falling in love to stability? Yes, to stable family relations. Okay, do we have any other opinions about divorce with or divorcing the state? I'm not even thinking about that. Well, here Yevgen described it in a very systematic way, all stages from initial euphoria to adrenaline, to understanding that from Kharkiv operation that is right now to real understanding and of the situation, and understanding that it will not happen fast, and understanding of the final goal. The only thing that I lack, well, I don't think that we need to talk about patriotism among us, because we are all here. So this question whether you want to be here or not is a little bit wrong. But I have only the question that I understand what we want to achieve, but I cannot still find this answer of how we are planning to do that. So I understand that it's not the level of the discussion, the level of thinking of my head, but I do not hear it further.
For me, patriotic feelings, the notion was subject to an evolution. I think First, we were kind of romantic as to this idea. We were under the illusion that this present will be forever with us, but the life shows us that we have to fill in this term. If you're not ready to fight for the country, it won't be there, and there won't be any dreams, any romantic ideas. And it's the task of our generation to convey to young generation. We need to explain to them what meaning is behind the concept of a state, and they have to understand that we need to create a successful state. It's a fact, and these are not just words. Before, I thought that this forum was useful because we were discussing the same things again and again, but now we should understand that it's now the time to change something. Either we do that or we do not exist. Serhiy and we, my patriotic feelings didn't change. Probably some aspects changed. I look at the country and I've never been inclined to think that something should come from the outside. Now I pay more attention to those I see around me, and it's painful to see their lack of patriotic feelings. I have kind of constant subconscious search for spies. I keep doing that subconsciously. And second story, there are main things we have to focus on, such as work and everything you do to achieve that, to win. And I focus on that, and I also try to spread it around me in the areas where I have some impact. I have to do it with soft tools. Serhiy, can you say that your patriotic feelings changed? Well, I wanted to add about spies. There is patriotic feelings and pseudo-patriotic feelings, and I think many people, we can see that, show pseudo-patriotic feelings. So they want to restore borders of 1991, but they flood abroad. And I think in peaceful times, it's one thing, and during the war, it's another thing. But it's something which cannot be in the middle. It's about unequivocal feelings. And I would like to continue in a bit different direction. The war gives us understanding that there is big difference between enemies and opponents. You kill enemies because they come to kill you, and with opponents you hold a discussion. And after the war, at some point the war will end. We believe that it will end with our victory, and at that time there will be a challenge to accept that in our society, in addition to the spies, we might have opponents and not enemies. And the society has to have the skills of maintaining a discussion without thinking that someone is an enemy. And last question, children grow quickly. Today 15, tomorrow 20. There are those who can be called young leaders, probably some of our children. What would you wish for those who will build their career, how should they do that? What do they have to do for Ukraine to win? How should they form their life? What are your thoughts based on your life experience? I can answer that. I am ready to that question. My wife sent me to a psychologist because I lost contact with my own son and the reality. By the way, we spend most of our time for other things and we lose touch with our families, with our children, and for wives it's very painful. We try to convey it to you, but it's hard to do. Well, you have a lot of tasks. We value that and appreciate. They
Альфа-самки.
always want to take the floor. About children, we need to maintain contact and communication with them because they do not understand many things and we do not say many things. We get closed in our own worlds and communication is important and we have to talk more by phone or any other means. We have to find common things in common, and it's not only about children, but it's about the society in general. I think the contact and communication are an element of a healthier society in future, so that we do not distinguish between military and non-military veterans, non-veterans. With younger children, yes, it's important not to lose contact, but I meant children of 18-year-old, for example, they say that they do not want to continue their studies, they want to go to the army. For example, I as a mother do not have enough words to convince my child that probably now you should get an education and simultaneously you probably need to undergo some theoretical military training. What instructions do we have to give this young patriotic generation who is ready to take weapons in their arms instead of gaining their first working experience? Well, there are several commanders here. Probably they know better. They know the number of soldiers of young age. I have a soldier of the 21-year-old in my unit. He shoots well. He is well trained. And when you talk to him, you understand that his circle of friends has become smaller because no one supports his decision to join the army. And there is a thin rope hill if we do not engage young people who have a lot of romantic ideas about the war. We do not have future. If our future generations are not ready to fight, this country does not have a future because those who are ready will end. Those who have some education, have families, we won't have them at some point. And who is going to be next? All kinds of temporary armistice, etc., are temporary. We remember the story in Chechen Republic. The same will happen with us, and our enemy should feel that there is strong resistance here, and then they will probably strategically change their thinking. Another question in this topic, can we encourage the state to set kind of limit for these young people? Say they serve for 1 year in the army, then they have to go back to their studies. Or are these just words and theories, and it's not possible on practice? Well, the state had 2 years to create something, some clear scheme of mobilization. And what do we see now? Of course, we might wish young people to serve for 6 months, then 6 months of studies. We can invent many interesting things, but it will remain here in a narrow circle. But if we keep talking about that, someone will hear about it. Well, politicians will change that. You might say, let's give them a year. Politicians will adopt the policies that will make us remain for longer. So I spent 6 years in a state in public service, and I understand that as soon as you become a politician, you try to implement some kind of a model which would give positive results, but it also requires responsibility from the society. You give a model to them, and they instantly reject many things. We can give everyone 1,000 hryvnias. It's a clear scheme, but adapting something to young people, it's too complicated. And I think it's a task of the society to to build a network of interaction that would deal with these aspects. Can I add? I will give a broad answer to your question. I have two sons. They are still small, and they have at least 8 years before joining the army. And I understand that the topic of patriotic upbringing, of education, is, first of all, my responsibility. Because, first of all, the state does not do many things today, and I, as a father, have to teach them how to be ready to defend this country. And of course, they will take their own decisions, but I want them to spend their life in Ukraine. And the longer you are in the army, the more you understand that even after the victory, we will be at war with our enemy. And my sons and the sons of all the rest here have to be ready that we will have to defend our state for many more times. And what I would like to convey to them is understanding of the morning of 24th of February 2022. We were successful people. We were in our own areas, but in 3 seconds, you lost everything. Your house is taken away, your car is taken away, etc. But if you had a rifle, you already had something. You were a man. And I really do not want this 24th of February to happen to my son or other children. The state has to be ready, and we have to form the army now. I won't go into details now, but we have to avoid many things that are still there in our army. Some lack of efficiency, etc. We need it to be an effective tool and mechanisms for many more generations, so that my sons and other sons of this country are ready to defend this country. Only then we'll have some future for the state, and we will be ready to face any other challenges. But it's our responsibility. The state will not educate our children, full stop. Yes, of course, the responsibility is on us. Andrei Onistrat, you have experience of communicating with young people. What would you say to them? Actually, it's something I do. I think that we need to show them what are the possible ways how the situation can develop. We have to explain it to them and show where they can go and how. Ultimately, it will be their choice, their own choice. I can only show them the ways of possible development. It's my opinion. We can only convey it in using very soft tools during some walks in the forest. We have to search for the right moment to talk about it. It's hard. It's very hard. And to be honest, I don't have a final answer to this question. What I just said is what I invented as a hypothesis, which I try to apply to my children. And we also say to our children that everyone will serve in the army, boys and girls. Serhiy Stakhovskyi, what do you think about that? 18, 21 years old, 25. Should we convince them to go and study, or should we allow them to go and serve? Well, there are different situations. There are some soldiers who might be 25, 21 years old and they are completely ready to join the army. There are those who have idealistic views. They're ready to do anything with their life, and I think we have to communicate with them more. There is wise phrase, don't look for a war, it will find you. And we might advise you should become an adult, you should get additional skills, and then you will be just a more efficient unit on the front line. You will get more skills there, but if you have an opportunity to improve your skills here and now, do that. It's a broader topic, actually. I do not think that everyone has to go to the war. There are people of war, there are those who are not for that. And the state has to do everything so that we have enough people for effective defense of the country. But I also think that it's important that those who are capable to be extremely successful as a civilian, it's also important to preserve them. It's an element of a modern economy of the country. The drones the UAVs are not something the military invented. Civilians did it. There are many civilians who manufacture drones, and there is an idea that after some time we'll have Silicon Valley in Ukraine, and we have many ideas. And there are other aspects here as well. During many economic forums, we've been discussing all of this. There is another side to that. I remember a Kief Economic Forum last year. We were here with Timur. Dear friends, there was a hall bigger than this one, 10 times bigger, and this hall is a bit smaller. So it's a question about the attention of the society and the question of relevance. It's bad when the situation is that someone is serving and others. Well, there are many questions. And it's very important that people have individual aspiration to transform theoretical things into practical ones. Also, if young people want to find themselves in civilian life, I often hear, let's wait for the end of the war and then we'll start building the country. In my opinion, and we talked about it before, the war is not a reason to stop the processes. And I think it's obvious for us. So we have a right to talk about that, to not use us if you just don't want to change the country. Lack of actions can be explained by the state of war without understanding what it means, without seeing what really happens at war. And I think we have to understand that there is no future for the country as we see it today. It's easier for them to go abroad illegally.
When they're 17, now already after school, people are taken and their mothers, and they decided to go with them to Europe. So that's why we still do not have preconditions. We do not have opportunities for such people to create and to make their future successful here. So far, we do not
Дякую
have
вам.
enough.
Такий висновок після сьогоднішньої
Okay,
розмови
thank
від
you.
лідерів думок, які провели сьогодні з нами наших
After
спікерів.
such a
Це життя.
discussion
Війна – це
that
не привід
we have had
не
today, the
жити
war
сьогодення,
is not the
а жити
reason
потрібно. І
not
потрібно
to live
готуватися
today.
і
We have to
здобувати
live and we
військовий
have to
досвід
get ready and
вже
to
зараз.
acquire military
Всім.
experience
І
already here
жінкам,
and
і
now
чоловікам,
for
і
everyone, for
підліткам.
women, for
Важливо
men,
до моменту
for
потрапляння,
teenagers. It
відповідно,
is
на поле бою.
important.
Дякую вам. Я
And
сподіваюся, що
thank
вашої
you.
аудиторії є
I hope
запитання.
that
Якщо є,
our
то піднімайте
audience
руку,
has some
будемо раді вас
questions. If you have
почути.
any questions, we will be ready
Спікери
to
готові.
hear you. Speakers are ready.
Фуршету не буде. Ви ж знаєте, це ви ж не ті люди, які приходять.
All questions will be at home, yes?
Я вам
There
дуже
will be
дякую,
questions
що ви
only to
сьогодні
us.
знайшли
Okay,
час.
thank you.
Я не побачила. Да, будь ласка.
Well, we have a question. Okay.
Всі успішні менеджери
You're
до того,
all
як пішли на
successful
тренування,
managers,
наверняка
and
ідеї,
you definitely
як
have
можна армію змінити,
ideas how the
так, щоб
army can
вона
be
працювала по
changed
логіці бізнесу,
so
а не
that it
стільки
works
потрібно,
according to the
щоб
logic
вона
of business, so that it can be
ефективніше.
managed effectively.
І, ну, хто це зробить, якщо
And
ви?
who will do it, but if not you?
Скоріше пропозиція
So most
свої
probably
думки
it's
не
a
оставляйте при собі,
a
десь
suggestion.
записуйте,
Don't keep your thoughts to yourself.
об'єднуйтесь, бо вам
Unite,
армія потрібна на
because we
довгі
need the
роки.
army for long,
І вона сама себе не
and
змінить. І
it
держава сама
will
себе не змінить.
not change
І це
itself, and the
унікальне, що
state will not
менеджери
change itself.
з
And it's a
бізнесу
unique
зараз
thing
в
that
армії
managers from
такого більше
business
не
and now
буде.
in the army, it will never
Це
happen
єдиний момент, коли
anymore.
це
It's the only
сталося
time where it's
24
possible.
лютого. Більше не буде
The
такого.
24th of February,
Якщо
there
ви
will be
це
no
не
such situation. If you
задокументуєте
do not
і якось
document it, if
між
you
собою не
do not
обговорите,
somehow
то
discuss
зробите
it among
щось
each other, if you
корисне.
do not
Це
create
те, як
something
багато шансів в нашій
useful,
державі,
you will
які
lose
ми
lots of
успіли.
chances.
І це унікальна річ, що ви
And
там.
it's a unique thing that you are
Я
there.
вам не заздрю. Я знаю, як вам
I
важко.
do not
Я
envy
навіть
you.
не
I
знаю,
know
чи
that
я б
it's difficult, and I don't
змог би
know
так же, як ви,
whether I
вчинити. Але я бачу
would
в
be
цьому
able to
шанс
do
для
what
нас
you have
всіх,
done.
для
But
нашої
I
держави,
see
що ви
here a
там
chance for all of us, for our state, that we are
знаходите
there,
один
that
одного.
you are
Щось
able to find each
зробити
other,
не
and
тільки
that you
служба в армії, а
can
то,
do
що
it.
дасть майбутнє для цієї армії, для нашої держави. Це якби навіть не
And
запитання, а
it's not
побажання.
even the question,
Дякую
it's
вам,
rather
що ви
wish.
є.
Thank
Дякую
you.
вам,
Thank
що
you
ви
for being here.
там.
Thank you
І
for being
всього
there,
вам
and
найкращого, щоб
all
вам
the
було
best
здорово.
to you.
Дякую вам. Є, бачу, ще
Thank you,
руки.
thank you. I see that we have hands. By the way, thank you for this remark, because, you know, you have such a feeling. It's already the third year of war that it seems like we are not in the best situation. We are in hot water, but it's true. And I am justifying my presence in the armed forces of Ukraine because it's really a fantastic experience when you can improve. Well, army is changing, and we are already fighting in with technologies. We're capable to militarize commercial solutions of business. Why we exist? Because we usually express details to make drones. Google Meet has been changed into a system of communication at the front line. Our volume of data, Amazon and all the clouds are used by armed forces without all those state institutions. It's a fantastic experience, and I can say that lots of our Western partners come, yes, they give us arms, but they are trying to learn what we are learning every day. The war is changing every 3 months. And yes, we are witnesses of this process. And that's a fantastic experience. I'm sure that there is no other army in the world with such experience. And it's not that we are that proud of it, but it is a treasure in a way. And I absolutely agree with you that we have to cultivate it. We have to systematize it. Later, we will commercialize it and capitalize it. It's also. And yes, by the way, it's happening now. It is a question of the fact that business about militarization, yes? It's if we are capable to militarize civil technologies, civilian technologies, then I see here as a financial specialist in Europe, you know, everything about defense, miltech. We don't want to deal with that. It's military, it's not for civilians, financial institutions, we are agrarian country, yes, and so on. And I see that Europe is changing. We have to understand that the war is absolutely natural environment everyone should get ready for, being civilians. For instance, I believe that agribusiness, as of now, they have built such a sustainable model. They are working on minefields. Farmers, their resilience is on such a high level that during the war, they are capable of maintaining their businesses. It's extremely difficult, but they have built communication with militaries. They keep on working on the fields. So there is a war going on, but they have their own processes, and that's possible as well. And it's not about money, it's about work, it's about life. It's about life that is here and now. Do we have any other questions? Elena Solovetsky, Association of Hotels of Ukraine. I do not have a question. I rather have a comment and words of gratitude. The comment is about the fact that it seems to me that it's a huge indicator of attention, what you're doing to be here at this forum. I think that being there, we are as businessmen, business people, we're talking about taxes, and I have heard about the size of the hall, I have heard this, but here we are talking about life. I have come here from the downstairs because I understood that I was not able to hear all of you, our real heroes. Do not perceive it symbolically that it's a small hall, a small audience. You are doing really important things, and I would like to express my gratitude and to give hope to all of us with that wish to come to victory as soon as possible. I do hope that we all will be able to drink a little bit of Soporavi from Mr. Stakhovsky. We will all be celebrating in restaurants of Mr. Hosovsky with the support of all of you, and I wish you personally so that you come back as soon as possible to those affairs, those letters that you left, or maybe you want to find yourself somewhere else and keep on peaceful life in peaceful Ukraine. Thank you. Thank you to all of you. Thank you.
Дякую всім за увагу.
Thank you everyone for attention, and thank you for the audience to being active. And thank you. We had a really great discussion. Thank you.